No, 15's, huh? Nope, wrong place. couldn't quite get it started. I'm being stopped by like a 15-cent part. It's a little cap for a water nozzle, a nipple for a water. Almost. I cleaned up a little bit of wiring. It's all serviced up. We're ready to go. Except for water. I haven't done the water because I don't want to possibly push water out of the system and get shit wet and cause a mess. So, but I do have everything to do it. So a couple minutes to get that done. But yeah, I'll show you what's going on and why I'm stopped. It's literally a freaking cap. This guy right here. See that? That's part of your water, their thermostat housing, and water comes out of that normally on the OEM to go to the AC system, your water heater. And I don't have anything to cap that off with, and I desperately need that to be capped off. Otherwise, there's no point in trying to start this car. It's just going to spray water everywhere, right there. But other than that, we should be good to go. A little bit of cleaning up around here. Using some more of the clamps. I got some bigger clamps to fit everything in. And for now, we're going to keep the battery box right there because everything's kind of set up for now, but we are eventually moving it. I just want to try to get this thing started. There we go. This thing is trippy as shit. We're going to put a patch panel here eventually, from here to here, to cover that up, so only necessary stuff will be sticking out of the hood. I mean, it will run like that, so it's not that big of a deal. And we're going to weld this up solid to fill that all in, clean it up a little bit. But yeah, we're not that far away. Honestly, this thing can run at this point. I just want to cap that off, because that's also going to be a permanent fix too. I still need to get the block off plate for this, but I can run it like that, so I'm not that worried about it. But yeah, that's how she sits right now. Sorry I haven't cleaned it up. I've literally been working all day on it, trying to get it to go. Exhaust gaskets are in, transmission service, the engine serviced up. I had to wind up taking the whole car apart to get the exhaust gaskets in, because you have to loosen up the headers to spread them apart, which means the alternator has to come out, which means the radiator has to come out, and a bunch of different stuff has to come out before you can actually use it. Like, yeah, that's her right now. And yeah. So wiring's a lot nicer this time around, and no wiring down the center. Everything goes over there and down here. And I also did like a little clamp here for the because I can no longer put it right here on the roll bar, so it's got to go right here. That's all nice and mounted up. About as best I can get it, considering where I'm at. So I had to retime the engine because I found some timing belt slack in between the cam sensors. The camera here is like up a little bit, not enough I think to actually make it jump time, but I can't put it back together like that. So I took it all back apart and retimed the engine, along with putting a new cam sensor in since it was showing up dead. With that cam belt being slack like that, definitely wasn't helping. I don't think it jumped time, but we're gonna find out. This one's like shit, like pulling heads off. But it's all ready to go. We're putting it back together, and honestly, even if the worst case scenario is not really that difficult to do all these kids and shit, so I'm not really worried about it. But yeah, so I'm going to start buttoning it up, and I'll do some recording of it. You guys enjoy. Just putting on the timing belt for the cover now. We're already done with the timing belt, so we're just putting the cover back on. So it runs. Now there is definitely a vacuum leak somewhere. I got to figure that out. Probably there's only one place there can be a vacuum leak because it's on the intake plenum. There's not very much vacuum on this car at all, so it's got to be the intake plenum somewhere, maybe a bolt loose. There's definitely some bolt loose at the top. I've already checked those out. So what I'm going to do is this weekend we're going to take the whole top hat off. We're going to check all the bolts on the inside. There's a bunch of bolts that hold it all down, and maybe run a bead of RTV in there somewhere on the stack, maybe some beads of RTV, and then run a bead of RTV around the top hat, and hopefully that'll seal her up to drop that in and drop the idle down to a more manageable level, like 900,000 RPMs. And then once we get the idle under control, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting my tires on, and we can actually go ops check this thing. But we're basically done at this point. We got tires to put on, we got to tweak this thing, got to figure out why it's revved up so high. I tightened up the bolts on the top of the hat, and it took 500 RPMs out. It stays at about 3,500 RPM. So clearly there was definitely a leak. It tightened up the bolts, and suddenly the RPMs dropped down. Definitely a leak. And there's a bolt missing on the corner, so that contributed to it. So we're gonna check the intake plenum, take that all off, and go through it, seal everything up, and that should be it. Then we can get some tires for it, and then we can actually try to off check it, take it to a couple test rides, and then we're done. Try to go to the dyno. We're not going to tune it on the dyno. We might have to, but that's not the plan yet. The plan is to do a couple power pulls to see what it's making. Don't know. This thing definitely sounds different than it did, because it used to have a more deeper tone. It does not anymore. It has a definite more high pitched, more raspy sound to it. I don't like it that much, but that's not what we're after. We're not here for sound. What we're trying to do is trying to get more power out of this by increasing the amount of airflow at all RPMs, and especially because when you get a big single, you lose some of that velocity. So with these 8 small throttle bodies, well, it kind of sounds kind of like a Honda. You have more flow, and it's coming straight down. So that is the plan. We're going to try to do what we can to tweak it, but it is running. And also, there was a leak. There was like a squeak that I heard when the engine was running. I think I got it fixed. I'm going to worry about that later. It looks like the alternator belt was actually almost off. It was to the left toward the alternator, and it was rubbing up against the alternator housing. So that's most likely where the squeak is coming from. I've already fixed that. We're good on that one. But otherwise than that, man, we're basically done with this thing. We're about to the point where we start driving again. Of course, I'm going to have to relearn how to drive it. A lot of things have changed. The pedal box, there's no power brakes in this thing at all, and there's basically no chance for that ever to happen again. It's definitely not just disconnecting a vacuum hose and putting it back on whenever you want it. No, we have completely and permanently deleted power brakes. They will never happen again. So I got to learn how to relearn where my braking points are, shift, that kind of stuff. The clutch is much harder to push in. Usually SL clutches, or you can just take your foot, just light push on it, and you basically push on the clutch. This thing right here is much harder. You have a shorter pedal, and it takes some effort to push down that clutch. Not too much, especially if you put your foot toward the top of the pedal. And I'm going to get a footrest for that'll keep your feet higher and maybe angled, like an OMP, like a passenger footrest. But we're going to use it on the driver's side to put your feet at an angle, so it's a more comfortable position to put your feet at normally. Because right now I have to lift my entire leg up to operate the pedals. So it's definitely not going to be suitable for any kind of long trips as it is right now. So we're definitely going to fix that pedal box with a riser or some kind of thing some way to lift your feet up to put it in a more comfortable position. So with that being said, we finally got it running. This is AZ3K GT signing out. Peace out.